Hey, welcome back to the channel, everybody. My name is Steve Peterson. We're here in the garage again today, working on some Veloster projects. When I was last working on the parts Veloster here, I had dropped the original subframe out of it and started pulling the engine out of here. Since that video, I did get this subframe off of the parts car here, the 40,000 mile, all the new suspension and everything on the fix and flip Veloster that's out in the driveway. Quick clip from my previous video, but all of these suspension components are now installed and the fix and flip Veloster is drivable. Again, there's snow and it's super cold outside right now, so I used a clip here from my last video. I don't want to go out there right now. It's super cold. I got the garage warmed up, so we're going to stay in here for now. This subframe and steering rack and knuckle and all of the suspension here that's left on the subframe is how I removed it from the fix and flip car. So it's all here ready to basically throw back into the parts car here. Now, originally I was going to strip this car down to its shell. I was going to pull the wiring harness, everything. I was just going to scrap this shell. And something is telling me to just hang on to this for now. I think I'm going to use it for some of the mid-engine swap project, mainly for like the front rail and the strut tower mounts, things like that. So I don't want to get rid of this car yet. My problem is I'm out of storage space. So basically I need to turn this car back into a roller, which is what I'm using all of this for. This is all 170,000 mile blown out suspension. And it's easy enough for me to just lift this back up into this car, kind of half-ass bolt it back in, and throw rear wheels and a set of shocks back on this thing. And I now have a steerable rolling shell that I can move around again. The reason why I'm trying to get back to that is because obviously I have the show Veloster here parked behind it. And due to space constraints in my garage, I cannot work on my show car here. I need this space. So the goal is to make this a roller again so that I can move it around. I can roll it out of the garage. I can roll all my cars out and pull in basically the project that I'm working on at a time, instead of having this paperweight sitting on jack stands. So as it is right now, this car is kind of stripped down. I've got the wire harness all ready to kind of be pulled through the firewall and things like that. I will be getting to all of that. I do plan on, stripping the interior and the door panels and the dash and things like that out of this car. But for now, again, I'm just trying to get it back to a rolling shell so that I can move it around, because as right now it's too stationary. I can't work on any other projects. I have too many things that I want to get done on the show car before show car season starts this year. By the way, Happy New Year, 2026, baby. Let's go. I'm pretty excited to dive into all my projects this season and film some content for everybody. I appreciate everybody watching so far. Everybody that's hit that subscribe button for me has been awesome. As I mentioned, my goal is to get the subframe kind of bolted back into the rolling chassis here. And I'm not really too worried about the harness. The harness can just kind of hang out there. The brake system and stuff like that is all just going to stay like that alone. I will probably be taking the upper engine mount here out of the parts car and putting it into the fix and flip car, just because I know the engine mounts on the fix and flip car have 170,000 miles on them, whereas these engine mounts only have 39,000 miles on them. So that kind of makes sense. To get over here to the engine, I have set the engine up here on kind of a rolling cart that I've made. This is just kind of like a rolling furniture dolly. This is an older one. It had some crappier wheels on it. I just ran to Harbor Freight, got some 5-inch caster wheels, and had replaced those so that now will hold the weight of the engine and trans that I have sitting here. Sitting underneath the engine specifically is actually kind of my own rearranged contraption here. This box was originally made, or this wood box was originally made to ship an engine, actually, but it was a different engine. So I got this from my work. I happen to work at a car dealership, so I got lucky. I snagged that from work and then just basically rearranged the boards that are there so that the engine and transmission sit nicely flat on all sides of the cart. And by doing that, now I can, roll this around the area, which is nice. I can relocate it. I can move it to storage, things like that. I did leave the downpipe on it for now. I wanted everybody to see what this all kind of looks like from the back side. This is a fully assembled, with the turbo, with the intake tube. In one of my older videos, I did do a walk around on the complete engine, and I'm going to pull the ignition coils and pull the plugs on this engine as well in this video. I'm going to basically get a look or get a gander of what those plugs look like for the first time. This is a 39,000 mile running and driving car. When I bought it, it sounded like a good, healthy engine. So I don't really have any concerns as far as like compression and things like that go. However, I would like to see if someone has done a tune-up on it. I'd like to stick a camera down in the spark plug holes and get a gander of what the side walls of the cylinder walls look like. Make sure there's no scoring or anything that I can maybe see premature happening as far as wear. One thing I did notice about this engine, somebody has changed an ignition coil on this engine. These are not all 4 factory or OEM original ignition coils, and I can tell that, for one, because this one's shinier than the other 4. For 2, obviously that one is missing a yellow dot, whereas these other 3 have yellow dots on them. I've found a lot of the OEM original ignition coils from Hyundai all have yellow dots on them. If you get any aftermarket ones, you won't see that. Also here on the side, you can see there's the Hyundai Kia logo with the part number, and then that is an aftermarket ignition coil that does not exist. Now, something I want to point out. This is why I preach using OEM ignition coils. I have not staged this. I have not set this up. This is the first time that I'm even paying attention to the ignition coils on this engine. So I have this engine out, and I was standing here and I was looking at it, and I'm like, oh yeah, somebody has done an ignition coil on this engine at some point, obviously. Okay, well, check this out. Okay, I'm going to grab here and I'm going to wiggle back and forth nice and tight, right? Right here. I'm going to wiggle back and forth nice and tight, right? Watch this. Right here, guys. This is one of the biggest reasons why I say aftermarket ignition coils are crap. You don't realize it, but they fit like crap. Look how much play and movement is in this ignition coil. And a lot of you go, oh, we'll just tighten the bolt down more. No, you can only tighten that bolt down so far before it strips out. This isn't supposed to be tight. These are just like little M6 10 millimeter head bolts, like they're not supposed to be tight. The ignition coil is supposed to sit nice and solid down in the hole. And that right there, that is going to cause misfire issues and ignition coil issues. That is why I say don't buy aftermarket ignition coils. I'm guessing, I don't know, that's some kind of Chinese ignition coil, an Amazon one maybe, something like that. But you can see, here, I'll even shake this one. Look at that. Nice and tight. They fit nice in there. Oh, wow, look at this. They didn't even put the boot on all the way. The boot is wrinkled. Look at that. So they just kind of it's not even all the way on. It's not even all the way on. We're going to pull these ignition coils out. We're going to pull the plugs out. I want to see what these plugs look like. I want to see if they're the factory ones or if they changed those as well. Maybe they only changed that one plug and they should have changed all 4. It doesn't, to me, look like these ignition coils have ever been out of this engine. They seem very tight and very uniform. I don't see any marring or anything like that on the hardware. So I'm guessing no one has ever touched those ignition coils before. Getting into removing these ignition coils and plugs here, it's just a 10 millimeter bolt on the top of all 4 of the ignition coils. I just zip those out real quick here and set those aside. Once you've got those zipped out, you'll be able to just pull up on each of the ignition coil and it should pop right out of the hole. Upon inspection of each of the ignition coils, they were all dry. They didn't have any oil residue on them, as they should be. You look down in the holes, and there was no oil seepage or oil residue in any of the spark plug holes. which tells me that the valve cover has a good seal still and has not begun leaking. To pull the plugs out, I have a spark plug socket on an extension and just a ratchet. To get the spark plugs out a little quicker, I just pop them on my little ratchet here and zip them out. I don't recommend that if you're not very experienced. Obviously, if the engine's in the car, it's a little tighter to get tools in there. So much easier to just kind of hand undo them once you've popped them loose with the ratchet. I pull each of the plugs out, and after each of these plugs come out, you'll see what they all look like, and you'll see that cylinder 2 here actually has a auto light plug. Cylinder 3 and cylinder 4 were both also OEM plugs. Personally, I recommend changing spark plugs every 20 to 30,000 miles, especially on easy engines like this, where it's very simple to just pop the 4 plugs out, get them changed, and put them back in. Changing ignition coils that often isn't that necessary. I usually focus more on changing ignition coils when there is a misfire problem. As long as you're changing plugs often, you can kind of stay on top of things and keep things serviced. So yeah, cylinder 2 definitely had been changed. However, all 4 plugs were pretty dry and equally used. You could tell that the ignition tip of the Denso plug is different from the tips of the factory plugs that were in the other 3 holes. You can see that they were all burnt kind of equally and as they should have been for what I would expect plugs to look like out of a 40,000 mile engine. I have not even checked the oil in this car. Okay, not bad. I don't know if I can get it to focus on camera, but it's full. It's dirty, but it's full. My goal is to get the CV axle out of here. I did spray it with a little bit of juice. I'm hoping to separate it here where the half shaft and the CV axle meet. I'm not going to take any of that out. That can just stay in the transmission, but I am going to pull the CV axle out so it's not hanging off the cart here. It's going to kind of allow me to store it better. And then same thing here. I'm going to pull the downpipe off, and that's going to allow me to put it in storage. Something here I just noticed I wanted to talk about off to the side. This is the ground strap that runs here. You can see from the intake tube, this aluminum tube. This is the turbo inlet. This is where your intake piping connects to back behind the engine. And this ground from the factory, as you can see, is just like a braided crap. Actually, I don't even know why they use such a junky strap to ground this engine. But this is something that I recommend upgrading. You can get ground wire pre-made with the loops on each end at your local hardware store, places like Advanced Auto Parts and AutoZone, things like that. You can buy pre-made lengths. You're looking for something like this, and that is a much better ground cable. It's insulated, and it's gonna ground your engine to your chassis better. So that's what this other end goes to. This other end goes right here under this bolt to the strut tower, and that is an okay ground point, but I highly recommend upgrading this strap. A lot of times I see in the Velosters, again, this one only has 39,000 miles on it, so it hasn't really happened yet, but you can see that they start corroding, and I've seen some really, really bad corroded ground cables out there. In the wetter and more humidic type climates, these ground cables will corrode much faster, and when these start getting really corroded, they lose their ability to ground properly, and they're just trash. So it's a really easy swap. You just unbolt it off the tower here, the strut tower. It's a 10 millimeter bolt, and then right here you unbolt it off of the inlet tube. And While I'm on the topic of ground straps, there's a few other locations around the engine bay where there are grounding points, and it's important to every once in a while just check over those and make sure that the wire harness is still connected tightly and there's no damage to those ground cables or major corrosion happening, or even some rust. Over here on the driver's side, obviously normally your battery is sitting right here, and there's a ground cable off the battery that runs to this bolt right here. This is an important one. You want to make sure that this bolt is, good and snug down on that cable and that it is not loose. It would potentially help if you were to take this bolt off, take the ground off, and just kind of scuff away. You can kind of see that circle where the head of the bolt sits. There are, what are these called? I don't even know what these are called, but it's like a little wire brush, something like this. And what it does is it sits perfectly in that hole like this. And when chucked up into a drill, it will score or wire brush away the paint. Kind of in a nice little circle there. And what that does is create a better grounding point when your bolt is pinched down on the ground cable. It kind of gets rid of the paint surface so that you get a better contact with your ground. That's not a super necessary thing, but it does help create better contact at all your grounding points. Another place to pay attention to is right here. There are a couple 10mm bolts that go through the harness that ground a few points of the wire harness here to the tower. You want to make sure those are tight and not loose or corroded at all. There's another one down here on the frame rail, and this is the ground point that jumps from the frame rail over to the transmission. So there's a cable here, and for some reason that cable is a nice cable. It's insulated. It's not like the braided copper cable that comes on the tower over here. So I don't know why they put a good cable here and use the junky cable here, but yeah. So that's a more important part here, to make sure that that ground is not corroded and rusty. I've seen a lot of times where this bolt, because it's part of the frame rail, gets very rusty. And that can cause some connection issues there, so something to be aware of. On the other side of this frame rail, right around the corner here, there are another couple grounding points where, again, it's just a 10mm bolt that screws into the frame and tightens the harness down. You do have that air bag impact sensor that screws in here, so don't confuse that. There's these two grounds right here. Other than that, there is one more chassis ground right here on this side, kind of over where your AC lines go. Normally there's the AC tubes here, so this one's kind of hard to see. Again, kind of make sure that that is snug as well. And then underneath the engine mount over here, there's this one that usually bolts right into the frame as well. So there's quite a few different ground points on this whole harness. It's something to be aware of, that the ground points need to be snug. I mean, you don't need to crank them down nice and tight, but you want to make sure that the wire harness is not wiggling or loose at all of those grounding points. If they are, it can cause some electrical issues. It can cause some misfire problems. It can cause some ignition system issues that are very difficult to trace and difficult to, diagnose. So it's important. Just kind of keep an eye on all of your different ground points throughout the harness and make sure that everything has good connection and is tightened up. Well, that wraps us up for today. I appreciate everybody for watching, hitting that subscribe button, and leaving comments and things like that. You've been awesome so far. Got so much more content to come for this 2026 season. I'm excited to keep moving forward on all of my Hyundai Veloster projects.